Yasuge stopped to eat and rest with a group of Tatars. The Tatars were enemies of his clan, but on the steppe, the rules of hospitality were sacred. You shared food. You shared fire. You did not attack a man at your table. The Tatars followed the rule. They gave him food, but they also gave him something else, something hidden, something slow. Poison. Yasuge arrived home sick. He sent for his son, but by the time Temujin returned, his father was dead. Temujin was 9 years old, and now everything changed. The men of the clan looked at this boy, this child without a powerful father, and they made a decision. They did not want to follow a boy. They did not want to feed his family. So they left. They rode away and took the animals with them. They left Hoelun and her children alone on the steppe, with no food, no protection, no future. And that is where the real story of Temujin begins. Not in power, but in hunger, in loss, in silence. The years that followed were the hardest of Temujin's life. He was not a great warrior yet. He was not a leader. He was a hungry child, living with his mother and his brothers in a small tent on the open steppe. The winters were brutal. The cold came like a wall. The wind cut through everything. Hoelun, his mother, was a strong woman. She taught her children how to find food in the wild. They dug for roots in the frozen earth. They caught small animals. They ate berries. They did whatever they had to do to stay alive. And Temujin watched. He learned. He understood something very important during these years. He understood that loyalty was everything, and that betrayal was the most dangerous thing in the world. Even in those early years, conflict was close. Temujin and his older half-brother argued over food, over a fish, over small things. But in the cold and the hunger, small things became big things. One day, Temujin and his brother Kasar killed their half-brother Begter. It was a dark act, a violent act. But Temujin was learning the hard lesson of the steppe. There was no room for division. There was no room for weakness. Survival required unity, or it required the removal of those who threatened it. He was still a boy, but already something hard and clear was forming inside him, something that would one day look like power. And then came the moment that would test everything. Temujin was captured. The Taichute clan had once been connected to Temujin's family, but connection meant nothing now. They saw Temujin as a threat, a boy from a broken family who was growing too confident. And so they came for him. They captured him and put a wooden collar around his neck. This collar was a symbol. It meant you were a prisoner. It meant you were less than human. It meant you belonged to no one and to nothing. Temujin wore this collar and was moved from tent to tent, from family to family, used as a servant. Every night, someone different held the rope. Every day, he carried the weight of the wood around his neck. This was designed to break a person, to make them small, to take away their spirit. But Temujin did not break. He watched. He waited. He listened. He learned the names of people. He learned who was kind and who was cruel. He learned the paths between the tents. And one night, he acted. He knocked down the guard who was holding him and ran into the darkness. He hid in a river, lying low in the cold water, his collar still around his neck. A man named Sorkan Shira found him. This man knew the risk. He knew that hiding a prisoner was dangerous. But something about this young man made him help. He hid Temujin in his cart, under wool, and when the searchers came, he said nothing. Temujin escaped. Cold, alone, exhausted, but free. He walked back to his family, and he did not forget the kindness of Sorkan Shira. He also did not forget the men who had put the collar on him. When Temujin was older, he returned for Borte, the girl his father had chosen. She was still there, still waiting. They married, and for a short time, life was quiet. Borte brought warmth. She was calm and wise. She saw the man that Temujin was becoming. But the peace did not last. A tribe called the Merkits attacked their camp. They came fast in the night. Temujin escaped into the hills, but Borte was taken. She was given to a Merkit man as a prize. Temujin could have accepted this. Many men did. The steppe was violent. Women were taken. Life moved on. But Temujin did not accept it. He made a decision that would change everything. He asked for help. He went to two men. One was Togrul, a powerful leader, the Khan of the Karate tribe, who had been a friend of his father. The other was a childhood friend named Jamuka. Together, they gathered a force of warriors. They rode into Merkit territory at night, fast and hard. They destroyed the camp, and Temujin found Borte and brought her home. This was not just a rescue. This was the beginning of something much larger. Temujin had shown that he could build alliances. He could inspire men to follow him. He could lead. And word began to spread across the steppe. There was a young man named Temujin, and he was someone worth watching. After the rescue of Borte, Temujin and Jamuka rode together. They called each other Anda. It is a Mongol word. It means a brother chosen by the heart, not by blood. They shared everything. They camped together. They fought together. They talked through the long nights under the open sky. For a time, it seemed like they could build the future together. But two strong men cannot share one vision for long. The steppe was not big enough for two leaders. Their followers began to separate. Some men followed Jamuka, some men followed Temujin, and slowly the distance between them grew. What had been friendship became rivalry. What had been rivalry became war. Jamuka was clever. He was a brilliant military mind, and he had more followers. He attacked Temujin. He won that battle. And he did something that shocked even the hardest warriors of the steppe. He boiled his prisoners alive in large pots. It was a message, a brutal message. It said, "I am not soft." But it also said something else. It said, "I rule through fear." Temujin heard this message clearly, and he understood the difference between them. Jamuka ruled through fear. Temujin wanted something else. He wanted loyalty. He began to do things differently. He shared the captured animals with his people. He promoted men based on skill, not only on the family they were born into. He listened. He remembered the people who had helped him in his darkest days, and he rewarded them. People noticed. More men came to follow him, and the day was coming when Temujin would face Jamuka one final time. The year 1206 was a turning point. A great gathering was called on the banks of the Onan River. All the Mongol tribes came together. This gathering was called a Kurultai. The chiefs sat together. The warriors stood in rows. The wind moved across the grass. And then, something happened that had never happened before in the history of these people. All the tribes, the many clans that had spent generations fighting each other, agreed to unite under one man. They placed a white felt carpet on the ground and lifted Temujin upon it. They gave him a new name, Genghis Khan. It means something like universal ruler or lord of all. He was no longer just a man from a broken family on the cold steppe. He was the leader of a unified Mongol people. And from this moment, the world would never be the same. He immediately began to reorganize everything. He built his army in a new way. Groups of 10, groups of 100, groups of 1,000, groups of 10,000. Discipline, order, speed. He created a law. He called it the Yasa. It brought rules to a people who had lived by chaos. He also created something almost no one noticed at first, a system of fast messengers on horses. News could travel hundreds of miles in days. His eyes and ears were everywhere. He was no longer surviving. He was building. And what he was building was something the world had never seen. What followed was a storm. A slow, organized, unstoppable storm. Genghis Khan looked beyond Mongolia. He looked south, he looked west, and he began to move. The Xi kingdom of northern China was first. Then the Jin dynasty. Great walled cities, armies of thousands. Genghis Khan had never seen city walls before. He did not know how to break them at first, but he learned. He took engineers from the people he defeated. He learned their methods. He adapted. He moved. The Mongol army was not just fast, it was intelligent. It used signals, strategy, and surprise. Genghis Khan rarely led from the front. He watched. He directed. He listened to the land and to his generals. And when a city resisted, when it refused to open its gates and fought back at great cost, what came next was terrible. The Mongols destroyed it completely. They did this not only out of anger, they did it as a message to the next city on the road. Surrender, and you will live. Resist, and nothing will remain. Many cities chose to open their gates. Merchants, scholars, and skilled workers were treated well. Genghis Khan had no interest in empty ruins. He wanted roads. He wanted trade. He wanted movement. And he built all of it on a foundation of absolute power. The world was watching, and the world was afraid. There was a moment when Genghis Khan tried peace. He sent a caravan to the Khwarezmian Empire, a great Islamic empire that stretched across Persia and Central Asia. The caravan carried goods. It carried a message of trade. It carried his ambassadors. The Shah of Khwarezm looked at this caravan and made a decision. He killed the merchants. He sent the ambassadors back with their beards shaved, a deep insult in those times. Genghis Khan received this news. He sat in silence for a long time. Then he rode out alone to a mountain. He stayed there for 3 days. He asked the sky, the eternal blue sky that the Mongols believed held their God, for guidance. And then he came down, and he went to war. What followed was one of the greatest military campaigns in history. City after city fell. Samarkand, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, fell in days. Bukhara fell. Merv fell. Some of these cities had populations of hundreds of thousands of people. After the Mongols passed, almost nothing remained. The Shah of Khwarezm fled. He ran to an island in the Caspian Sea where he died alone, wrapped in borrowed clothes, with no power and no people. It was a complete and total destruction. And at the center of it was one man.